Hello, in this video we're going to go over how to create an options menu inside of Unreal Engine, and we're actually going to add the 4 options that I've added to my game. You also have the ability to add more options if you want to. So the options are going to be to have a window mode, so you can decide if you want the game to be windowed full screen, windowed or full screened. You'll be able to decide the resolution of your game. So if you have a lower resolution, it kind of helps the game run faster. You'll be able to decide if you want VSync off or on in your game. And finally, you'll be able to decide what type of graphics you want for your game. So there are going to be 4 options we're going to add: Ultra, Epic, High, Medium, or Low. So using these options menu, hopefully your player will be able to make the game run faster or slower depending on their PC needs. And at the end of this, you'll also get the project files. So if you just want to look at the code for this and see how it's done, you'll get that. This video will be continuing from the previous video that I made, how to make a main menu inside of Unreal Engine. If you've not seen that video, no worry, you can still follow along and learn. So, to get started, you just want to right click and go User Interface, select Widget Blueprint, then the User Widget, and just call this the Options Menu Widget Blueprint. Then if we double click and open this up, we want to go over to the palette and look for a canvas panel, and just drag this into the designer, and we're now ready to start designing our options menu. Go back to the palette and look for a vertical box. Just drag it somewhere into the center of the screen and expand it a bit. And also just go to anchors and anchor it to the center of the screen. When our options menu appears, we want it to kind of be in the center of the screen. Then we want to look for a horizontal box and just drag this horizontal box inside of the vertical box. Then we want to look for some text and just drag this text inside of the horizontal box. And then we want to look for a button, and we just want to drag this button inside of the horizontal box. Then we want to look for one more piece of text and just drag this inside of the horizontal box again. And then we want to look for another button and just drag this into the horizontal box. Then finally, we want to look for a text and just drag this text inside of the first button, then drag and place another text inside of the second button. Then select this first text box and just make it say window mode. And then we just want to select this text and make it show the left arrow. Then we'll select this text and make it show the right arrow. So this is going to be one of the options that our player character can control, the window mode. So this basically means we can control basically if the screen is going to be full screen, windowed, and that type of thing. With this text selected, just change this to be fill, as I kind of want this to basically fill up the space of this vertical box. And then we're going to add the other options that we want the player to be able to control. So if I just select this horizontal box, press Ctrl C, then select this vertical box and press Ctrl V, that will basically duplicate it. Then we're going to do this 2 more times. So select the vertical box and press Ctrl V, then just do that 1 more time. So in this tutorial, we're just going to add 4 options that the player character can control. At the end of this video, I'll show you how to add more options if you want to do that, but these are kind of the 4 main options that games allow you to control. So the next option we'll give the player to control is going to be the resolution. So for this text, I'm going to make it say resolution. And then for this third text, I'm going to make it say graphics. And then for this final text, I'm going to make it say VSync. So when the player is clicking these buttons, we're basically going to allow them to change the options. So for this button, just select it. And we just want to call this window mode minus. And then select this one and just call this window mode plus. Do that for the following buttons, the resolution, graphics, and VSync, because this will just make things a bit cleaner when we're designing them. So just do that now. I'm just going to fast forward. Okay, so I've now named all of my buttons appropriately. The next thing we're going to do is make it so when we click these buttons, it can kind of change the settings in our game. So I'm just going to select this button, scroll down and go to onClicked. And then also here, this will take us to the event graph. What I can do is just find my Windows plus mode button, scroll down and just add the onClicked here. And basically I'll use these buttons to control the window mode of my game. What we want to do is create a new variable and just call it window mode. And for the variable type, we just want to look for the eWindow mode. So here it is, eWindow mode. And if I just compile this, we can see that there are 3 window modes that are available in our game. The game can be full screen, it can be windowed full screen, or it can be windowed. So these are the 3 options we're going to allow the player to basically choose. When the player presses the window mode minus button, what we're going to do is just drag in our window mode, get it, then just drag off here and look for integer. And we want this one to integer. This will convert this variable into an integer, which is a whole number. And we just want to drag off here and look for subtract and just select it. And we want to subtract this by 1. And then just drag off here and look for clamp integer. And we want this to have a max value of 2 and a minimum value of 0. So basically this has 3 options. When this is 0, this will mean it's at full screen. When it's 1, it'll mean this is windowed full screen. And when this is at 2, it means this is on windowed. Then after we basically do this, we want to drag off here and look for integer to byte. So if I just look for byte, this will convert our integer back into a byte. And then we just want to drag in our windowed mode and set it, then connect it into here. Then just connect from here into here. So when we press the negative button on the window mode, it'll basically decrease our window mode. We're going to do the exact opposite for when we click the plus button. So I will just drag in the window mode, get it. I will then look for integer. So to integer, although this time we're going to look for add. And we want the add operator here. And we just want to add 1. I will copy this bit. So I press Ctrl C, then Ctrl V. And connect from value into here. And from here into here. So when I click the window mode plus button, it'll basically increase my window mode by 1 on whatever it is. So if I was on full screen, it'll increase it by 1 to windowed full screen. So with that, we have set up the window mode buttons. Next, we'll set up the resolution buttons. So that way the player can change the resolution of the game. So if I just select this button, I will scroll down and go unclicked. Then I'll also just select the resolution plus button and click it. So when the player clicks the resolution buttons, we'll allow them to change the resolution of the screen. For this, if we create a new variable and just call it resolution and call it resolution index and change the variable type to be an integer, and then we just want to drag it in, get it. When we click the plus button, we're gonna drag off here and look for add. And we just want to go to this one, add operators, and we'll add 1. Then just drag off here and look for clamp. So there are going to be 4 resolution options that the player is going to be able to have. So for the max, here put 4. And sorry, I mean there are going to be 5 resolution options that the player is going to be able to have. 0 counts as an option, so there are going to be 5 in total. And we just want to drag here and look for set resolution index and connect from here into here. And from here into here. Then we're going to do the exact opposite for the negative. So I will drag off here and look for subtract. I'll subtract 1 and then I'll just copy this. Connect this into value and this into here. Then we just want to drag in the resolution index, get it, drag off here and look for switch on int and add 5 pins. Connect from both of these into here. So depending on the resolution index will depend on the screen size that we'll set for the game. So if we just create a new variable and call it resolution, change the variable type to be an int point here. Then we just want to drag it in and look for set resolution, right click on here and look for split structure pin. And just copy and paste this 4 more times and connect from 0 into here, from 1 into here, 2 into here, from 3 into here, and from 4 into here. For this first one, we want the resolution X to be 1280 and the resolution Y to be 720. So this is going to be the lowest resolution option available to the player. For the second one, we want it to be 1600 by 900. For the third one, we want it to be 1920 by 1080. For the fourth one, we want it to be 2560 by 1440. And then for the last one, we want it to be 3840 by 2160. We can just compile that, then go back to the designer and we'll set up the graphics. So for this, we just want to select this box, scroll down and go on clicked, and then I will add the plus graphics. To control the graphics, we're going to create a new variable and just call it graphics index. Change the variable type to be an integer, and then we're going to do a similar thing here. So we are just going to drag in the graphics, get it, drag off here and look for add, and we want this one, add operator. We'll add one, we'll drag off here and look for clamp. There are going to be 5 graphics options, so for the max, put 4, and then we will just drag in the graphics index and set it to be this value, connect from here to here, and we'll do the opposite for the graphics minus button. So I'll just drag off here, look for subtract, and I'll put 1 here, and then I'll just copy this, connect this into value, and then I'll just copy this and connect from here into here. Then if we go to the designer, there is one last option, which is the VSync. I will click on this button, and when I click on this button, for this one, we're just going to create a new variable and call it VSync question mark. Change the variable type to be a Boolean, and then if we just drag it in and look for set, when we click the VSync negative button, we'll make this variable false, and when we click the VSync positive button, we'll make it true. So on clicked, I will just copy this and set it to be true. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is make it so when the player actually clicks these buttons, it applies the changes to our game. So if we go back to the designer, and in the palette, look for a button, and just drag this button here at the bottom here, and then we're going to look for some text, and just make this text say apply. And I'm just going to select this button and make it center align so it's a bit smaller, and I'm also just going to select this horizontal box above it and add a padding to the bottom of 50. That way there's a bit of a gap, and when I click this apply button, I'm going to apply all of the changes that I've made here. So if I just scroll down and go on clicked, when I click this button, we'll make it load all of the changes that the player has made. So when this button is clicked, we'll just right click and look for get game user settings, connect it into here, and we just want to drag off here and look for set full screen mode, and then we'll set the full screen mode to be whatever our window mode variable is. So we'll just get it and connect it into here. Then we will set the graphics, so I'll just drag off here, then I'll look for set overall scalability. This will allow me to control the graphics of the game. A 0 is basically the lowest graphics, a 4 is the highest graphics. We can just drag in the graphics index, get it, then connect it into here. And what I can do is just double click so I can add a reroute node so it's a bit tidier. And I'm just going to press the Alt button and break the link here and then connect it here. That way it's a bit tidier, and I'll actually just move this to the top. Then we'll just drag off here and look for set VSync. And we want this one, set VSync enabled, connect it into here, and then I can drag in the VSync, get it, and then connect it into here. And if I wanted to, I could just drag off here and look for set foliage quality, and then I could set up a bunch of buttons so that I could control the foliage quality. But I don't want to add every single option menu, otherwise that could take a while, but that's how you'd easily add more settings if you wanted to. I just covered the window mode, the graphics index, and the VSync, and the resolution, as all of the other options kind of follow a similar format to that. So if I wanted to basically add a foliage option, I'd kind of do it in a similar way to how I've added the graphics index. So I just wanted to showcase that. And then for the final one, it's going to be the resolution index. We can just drag off here and look for set resolution. and we want this one, set screen resolution, and then connect it into here, and then we just want to get the resolution variable that we made, and then get it, and then connect it into here, and then we just want to drag off here and look for apply settings, and then connect it into here, and that will make it so that when we click this button, it will apply all of the settings that we have made. The next thing we're going to do is make it so the game will basically be able to load in the settings that the player has made. So if the player makes some settings and applies them, we want to make it so if they open up the game again, it'll basically load in the previous settings that they've made. So to do that, we can just right click and look for event construct, and this will basically fire as soon as our options menu is displayed on the screen. And event construct, we are going to just drag off here and look for get game user settings. This will get the settings that our game has, and what we can do is just look for load settings, and this will basically load the previous settings that we set inside of our game. Then what we can do is just double click to add a reroute node. Then what we want to do is just drag off here and look for get full screen mode. Then we want to just drag in our window mode, set it, and connect it into here. That way our window mode is basically going to display what our full screen game mode is. Then we just want to drag off here and look for get overall scalability level, and we'll set our graphics index to be that. Connect this into here. Then we'll just drag off here and look for is VSync enabled, and then set our VSync variable and connect it into here. Then we'll just drag off here and look for get resolution, so this one, get screen resolution, and then we'll set the resolution to be whatever this is. And for this one, we just want to drag off here and look for break int. And if you remember earlier, when we were setting this up so that the game knows what to set the resolution index to, what we're going to do is just drag off x and look for equal, and if the x is ever equal to 1280, we are going to have a branch connect from here into here, and if that is true, we will set the resolution index to be 0. If that is false, then we are going to do another branch check, and we'll check to see if the x resolution is equal to 1600. If that is true, then we'll set the resolution index to be 1. If this is false, then we'll have another branch, and we'll check to see if the x resolution is equal to 920. If that is true, we'll set the resolution index to be 2. If this is false, I will have another branch, and then we'll check to see if the x resolution is equal to 2560. If that is true, then we'll set the resolution index to be 3. If this is false, we'll have one more branch, and we'll check to see if the resolution in the x is equal to 3840. And if that is true, then we'll set the resolution index to be 4. Whoops, so just 4 here. So we've handled basically applying our settings and then loading in our settings if the player opens the game again. The final thing we need to do is make it so these text blocks will basically display what window mode, what resolution, and what graphics, and if the VSync is on or off. So let's do that. For the window mode, we just want to select this text, go bind, and go create binding. Then we just want to drag in the window mode, get it, and just drag off here and look for enum. Then we want to select enum to string and connect from this return value into here. And this will basically display whether our game is in full screen, window full screen, or windowed mode. Next, we want to select the resolution, go bind and go create binding. For this one, we will drag in whatever our resolution is and look for break, int point, and then we just want to right click and look for append. Sorry, not this one. Right click again and look for append. And we want to scroll down and we want this one, append string. And this basically allows us to put two pieces of text together, add a pin, and for the B, we just want it to say X. And then for the A, connect X into here. So this will display the resolution on the X. Then we're going to connect from Y. This will display the resolution on the Y. And just connect the return value into here. So if our screen resolution is, for example, 1280 by 720, it's going to show 1280 x 720. That way the player knows the resolution. For the graphics, just select it, go bind, create a binding, and then for this one, we want to drag in the graphics index, get it, drag off here and look for switch on int, and add 5 pins, connect from get text into here, and if this graphics index is 0, we're going to make it say low, because that will basically mean the game is on low graphics. I'll just copy this. If this is on 1, we want it to say medium, because we'll be on medium graphics. If this is on 2, we want this to say high. So I'll make this just say high. If this is on 3, that means we want this to say epic, because our graphics will be epic. And if this is on 4, we want this to be ultra, and that will mean our graphics are ultra. We can just go back to the designer. Then if we go to the VSync, I will create a binding. And if the VSync, if we just get it, drag off here and look for a branch. If this is true, we'll make this say on. And if this is false, I'll just copy this. We'll make this say off. We can go back to the designer. So I'm going to be adding this system to the main menu system that I added last time. So if I just close this and go to my main menu widget blueprint, I will select the options button and I'm just going to go on clicked. When I click this button, I am just going to drag off here and look for remove from parent. This will remove my main menu widget. Then I'll just drag off here and look for create widget. And the widget I'm going to create is going to be the options menu that we've been making. And then I'll just drag off here and add this to my viewport. That way I can see it. Then if we just go back to the options menu and select the apply button, I'm actually just going to add another button. That way the player can go back to the main menu if they want to. So in my palette, I'm going to look for another button. And I'm just going to add this below the apply button. And I'm going to just give this some text. I'll make it say go back. And for this, I'm also just going to make it kind of centery. And for the apply button, I'm going to add a padding of 50. That way there's a bit of a gap. And when I click this button, I am going to drag off here and look for remove from parent. And then I'm going to look for the create widget. And that widget is going to be the main menu widget blueprint. And we just want to drag off here and look for add to viewport. That way it adds our main menu back to the viewport. And I think I can test this out. So I go compile, close this. So I'm in a level where I basically added my main menu to display as soon as my game starts. So in my level blueprint, event begin play, I basically add the main menu, that way I can see it. So if I just go play, I can see my main menu. If I click the options menu, it will remove my main menu, and then I can see my options menu. So currently, right now, we can see that the VSync is on, the graphics are high, and the resolution is 1920 by 1080. Let's change some of these things. So if I make it medium, I'll turn the VSync off, and just go apply. And then if I close this, and if I want to, because this is kind of looking a bit weird, I'm just going to copy the image from my main menu, and then for my options menu, I'm just going to paste it in the canvas panel. And for the Z order, give it a Z order of something like -1, and make sure this has a Z order above 1, a Z order of above -1. That way this image appears above it. And now if I just go compile, close this and I go play. If I go to my options, we can basically kind of control some things. So maybe I want this to be full screen. I can decrease the resolution and just go apply. And as you can see, it kind of changed the settings for me. And then two more things. Because my options menu doesn't basically appear as soon as my game starts, it's not actually going to load in my settings. So what we want to do is just copy this get game user settings and then basically paste this wherever the player goes as soon as the game starts. That way it loads in the old options that they have. So if I go over to my graph and go over to the event begin play here, after I do this, I'm just going to paste my get game user settings and load them. That way, as soon as my game starts, it will load in my settings. Right now, I kind of have to go to the options menu if I want it to kind of load in my settings. So if I go play now, whoops. Oh, okay. I forgot to connect the return value to here, so just make sure to do that. So if I go play now, as soon as my game starts, it's going to load in my settings that I set last time. I can click options, it'll take me to my options screen where I can change the options of the game. If I go back, it will take me to my main menu. I can even click start, and when I start my game, I'll have the options that I selected in the options menu. That's all for this video. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe. And one more thing, I'm just going to attach the project files for this video, the main menu and the options menu. That way you can download and check them in case you've made a mistake or if you just want to skip straight to the code. Okay, bye.